This is episode 43 of the UpRev Ninja podcast, and I'm your host, Tom Hudson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the UpRev Ninja podcast. If this is your first time listening, thanks for joining us. This show is produced each week with the single intent of discovering the tips, tricks, hacks, and lessons learned from our guests that has catapulted them into living the best version of themselves. Join your host, Tom Hudson, as he continues his search for the best methods to uprev his life. Now, let's dive into the show.
Today's guest is Nathan Hirsch. He's a serial entrepreneur and expert in remote hiring and e-commerce. He started his first e-commerce business out of his college dorm room and has sold over $25 million online. He is now the co-founder and CEO of freeup.com, a marketplace that connects businesses with pre-vetted freelancers in e-commerce, digital marketing, and much more. He regularly appears on leading podcasts such as Entrepreneur on Fire and speaks at live events about online hiring tactics. Hey, today on the UpRev Ninja podcast, I got Nate Hirsch with me. How you doing today, Nate?
Tom, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. As after we figured out all those technical issues, I do apologize about that.
It's all good. Happens to the best of us.
I know, and it's kind of funny. I was sitting here like this is kind of one of the things that you started your business about. So I'm like, oh man. So, but anyway, like I said, I've already read your bio out to my audience, but I'd love for you to kind of just share your story with us, like who you are and how you got to this point in life.
Yeah, so I've kind of had some interesting experiences. I started off as a son of two teachers, and I always thought I was going to go through the regular path of go to school, get good grades, get into a college, get good grades, go get a job, work for 20, 30 years, retire, and that was going to be my life. I mean, that's what my parents did. And while I was in school, starting in high school, even before then, my parents made me get full-time jobs during the summer. So while other kids were out playing, and I did plenty of playing as well, but I always had at least a side job. And when I got to high school and beyond, it was always a full-time job. So just by being in that full-time job environment, I realized, wow, this is what happens when you get out of college. Like, this is your life, 40 hours every week, plus looking at the clock. And I didn't want this. I wanted to do anything possible to avoid this. And when I got to college and I went to Quinnipiac University, they had just started the entrepreneurship program. So it was really the beta version. And I remember this speaker got up and she was like, if you ever want true financial freedom, you'll take this entrepreneurial class. It's the only way.
Wow.
And that really, I know, it really stuck in my head. Day one of college, this is your only way. And so I joined that program and I went from undecided to the entrepreneurship major pretty quick. And I really didn't look back. I was just trying every possible way to start a business when I was in college. I went to the dump and I was buying things and trying to sell them online. I started buying and selling textbooks from my friends just to make that extra side money. I call it my extra beer money. That spending money. And finally, when I started selling these books, one day I came across Amazon.com and I thought it was the coolest thing. You could list products against other people, adjust prices, adjust inventory. It was very hands-on, very basic, a little bit more basic than it is now, a lot more basic than it is now. And I was like, okay, so I'm making money selling textbooks. I can sell more textbooks on Amazon than anywhere else. People would buy them like crazy. What else can I sell on Amazon? And I tried everything from really cool things I liked, like DVDs and computers and sporting equipment. And I failed at all of that. I could get something here or there. Nothing really hit. And I knew it wasn't sustainable. And one day I randomly found this deal for a baby product and I listed it on Amazon and I sold a bunch of them right away. And I started drop shipping that product. I would ship it to the person that bought it for me from that deal site. And it worked out great. And all of a sudden I was making money off of it and I tried it more and more and I developed a system and developed a process. And before I knew it, I had this drop shipping business model running, selling baby products as a 20-year-old college guy out of my dorm room. And that business took off to the point where I was running a multi-million-dollar business out of my college dorm room. And and I had to hire people. I had no idea what to do. I somehow survived my first busy season. I went insane. I was rushing a fraternity. I had a girlfriend. I was doing everything you want to do in college, trying to get good grades so my parents weren't mad, plus running this business as a young entrepreneur, having no idea what I was doing. Enter busy season. We know how crazy that is for e-commerce. I didn't know what e-commerce was, so I got hit with all these orders, all these angry customers after Christmas when their kid's present was late by 2 days. And once I got through that, I was like, okay, I really have to hire people. So I started hiring people, not knowing what I was doing. One of my first hires was my business partner, Connor, who has been my business partner for 8 years. So I got really lucky on that. And I made some awful hires as well, people that wasted my time and my money, that drank on the job and they really partied in college and cared a lot more about that than working for me. And as I grew this business and I graduated college and I opened up an office and I hired full-time employees and I started to realize the difficulty that goes into that, just spending time posting jobs and interviews and all that. I got introduced to the remote hiring world and the online jobs.ph and the Upworks, and I started hiring virtual assistants, and we can talk about that more, but I became addicted to that and I really saw the benefit over that rather than competing with every single business around me for the same group of talent in my town. So as I started to build that army, I still was sucked into the HR, the interviews, the long days, and I just remember throwing something at the wall one day after doing 8 hours of interviews, being like, there has to be a better way, and that's really where the idea of Free Up came in, where it's a marketplace of freelancers where we've already interviewed, we've already put them through this process before they get into the marketplace. As a client, you just put in a request, and we introduce you some options we've already vetted. So it's a lot faster, it's a lot more hands-on, and we can talk about that more too. But that's really how I went from the son of two teachers to a broke college kid to owning my first company and starting my second.
Oh, no, man, that's pretty phenomenal. Especially, I can't imagine what that would have been like in a college dorm room running a multi-million-dollar business and getting a lot of upset emails from parents, right? Because when you're that age, you still have that, oh no, my mom's mad at me, right?
Exactly. And it goes even further. I mean, you've got to hire people, right? So I need employees, but who am I going to hire? It's not like I'm going to find some 35-year-old and hire him as a 20-year-old. And I'm on a college campus. I don't even have access to those people. So I'm hiring my friends. I'm hiring people I know. So then you have the whole, oh, am I your friend? Am I your boss?
Right.
How serious am I running the business? So, I mean, you can't even imagine. It's crazy.
So what kind of, other than lack of sleep and trying to find the talent, what did you have anything that was holding you back? Fear, procrastination, anything like that?
So I've never been one to procrastinate. I was the opposite. I was the guy that if I got a project that was due in 3 months, I had it done within a week or two. I try to get stuff done as fast as I possibly can, and I do the same thing today with Free Up. I mean, my biggest thing was being taken seriously as a young entrepreneur. There was no supplier that wanted to talk to me on the phone. There was no one that wanted to interview with me. It was hard enough getting the people that I was managing to take me seriously. To them, it was a game. It was college. It was this thing that I got lucky that I fell into, and I was kind of running it and trying to keep it alive. But for them, it was just a source of that extra $10 an hour. So really getting people to take me seriously as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. Also, you have to remember, back then, no one knew what Amazon was. Trying to explain to them that I was an Amazon seller, no one thought that was a real job or a real thing. Whereas now, I mean, it's the next biggest thing. There's a million Facebook groups teaching you how to do it, online courses. There's none of that. So I was really one of those first pioneers, becoming an Amazon seller, turning it into an income stream and trying to really make that a legit career.
So what kind of advice did you get? I mean, mentors or anything along the way? I mean, you were hitting a ton of brick walls, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I never felt like I was being held back because my parents would always they always wanted me to try opportunities, and they obviously saw how much I was making, and they quickly pivoted and we're much more open to it. But even as I got to going through college and the business is growing and I'm hiring people, there was always okay, let's start thinking about your future. Let's start thinking about what kind of jobs you're going to get. And I was applying for jobs. I had an internship on the side. I was still going through it hey, this business could collapse at any moment. That's not as stable as a real job. And when I graduate, I can do that. And I remember it was getting to the end of senior year, and it's like, okay, I need to make a decision. Am I accepting these job offers, or am I going and running this Amazon business full time? And I got a call from my aunt, and my aunt's an entrepreneur. She ran a printing business for years. She recently retired, and her advice was pretty much like, what do you enjoy doing? What do you think you're going to want to do waking up every day? Are you passionate about this? Or do you really want to go work for someone else, which was kind of the flip of what my parents were saying, although they would support me either way. And I remember just sitting in my lawn of my college house, talking to her on the phone for an hour and getting off the phone. And I was like, let's do this. And I called my business partner, Connor, and the rest is history.
Wow. Well, so, there's a lot going on in here that we got to kind of unpack. I do want to find out, like, you've got this business going, you've got all the angry customers at you, and you're growing. You've got parents telling you one thing, your aunt's telling you something else. It's a whole new, it's a brave new world, right? So who was the first person you really went out and hired? I mean, you said Connor, but when you started to go out and hire these people, what did you look for? Not in skill set, but where did you need the help?
So Connor messaged me one day when I was in class. He claims it was an AIM, but I'm pretty sure it was a Facebook message. And so he was basically like, hey, like, I need a job. Are you hiring? And I was like, yeah, I'm looking for help. So you're hired, and you're starting tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So it comes to like 12:30, and he calls me up. He's like, oh, by the way, I don't have a car. Can you come pick me up?
Oh, damn.
So I'm like, all right, like, well, who is this guy? But I picked him up, and it was like incredible. It was like, for the first time, someone cared about the business as much as I did. Like, everyone that I talked to, they were like, okay, this is a nice little hobby. No one takes it seriously. But he was like, wow, this is awesome. Teach me how you do this. I want to learn how to do this. Even doing QuickBooks, which is the most boring thing in the world, he was excited about it. He wanted to do it. And that really opened up my eyes to, okay, there are these people out there that can contribute to your business and treat it like it's their baby as much as yours. And I mean, even after that, it took us years to develop an interview process. Our interview process was like, hey, how many hours a week do you have free? Will you show up on time? Okay, you're hired. And that obviously didn't turn out well. I mean, I hired people that we would actually have to go to their house and knock on their door to get them to wake up.
Oh, my.
And that was a very consistent thing. I mean, even like college, I remember walking into a room and someone's on their third beer answering customer emails. Like that stuff would happen pretty consistently. And who at that point I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm gonna be like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, and I'm gonna run the business and be a college student at the same time and not care about rules, because rules are for adults and we're kids. And I quickly realized that wasn't very good for the bottom line.
You wised up pretty quick. So, how do you do all this,
exactly,
man? You've got all right, when you were starting out, you've got college, you've got your family, you've got classes, you're rushing. You said for a frat, and you've got this business. How did you not go insane?
Yeah, so I had this idea that I thought was good to get a manager of the day. So this person would literally have a checklist. He would go down every day, 7 days a week, and it would be, hey, go through orders, go through customer service emails, reprice products, do inventory. He was responsible for everything. I didn't want to chase down all these order people or customer service people. It was his job to make sure they were there. If someone missed a shift, he filled in. He went and knocked on their door to wake them up. So I could focus on bigger picture stuff and expansion and growth and systems and processes, which I've always loved. And so this went great, but it took me a really long time because you had to train him to do every single thing. He had to be better than everyone else at all these tasks. So I invested 6 months into training this person, and it was time for me to take my first vacation in a very long time. I mean, I was working 7 days a week. I mean, e-commerce never stops. It never sleeps, and combined with college and the other stuff. So Connor and I go to Myrtle Beach. We have this manager of the day ready to handle it. We have this one supplier we had been working with for over a year, crushing it. We were spending $1 million a year with them, and we go on Myrtle Beach, and I promise you, on the first day, within 8 hours of being there, I get 3 calls, all within 2 hours. First call from the supplier saying that they no longer wanted to work with us anymore.
Oh.
Didn't give us a reason, just cut us off. Second call from the manager of the day saying that his mom wanted him to focus more on school and we couldn't be a priority.
Okay.
So 6 months of training down the line, I don't have a supplier, don't have a business anymore. Everything I worked for in the past year and a half gone. And then just to top it off, I get a call from my accountant telling me that someone had stolen my identity and filed a tax return in my name and stolen $40,000 for the government. So now I have to go through a process dealing with identity fraud.
So exactly where is your heart in your throat at this point? Is it like at the lower part of your throat, or is it coming out of your mouth? I can't imagine that stress and anxiety you were going through, Nate.
It was incredible because on the way there, it was an amazing trip. We were on top of the world. We had everything. We were making more money than we had ever could have imagined at a young age. We had built this business. We had built the systems, the processes. We had built the relationship with the supplier. Finally, we had this manager of the day who was finally trained and performing. And in our mind, we could relax. We didn't have to check in all the time because we knew we had it under control. So we went from this unbelievable high to this terrible low where we're like, what did we just do? This was just a huge waste of time. Like, is this over, or is this how we go and get real jobs now because of this? Or are we going to be talking about this for the rest of our life? And to our credit at the time, I mean, we didn't enjoy that vacation.
Right.
We came back and we looked at our bank account and we were like, okay, we have X amount of money. We have all these people that we've already trained. Let's go for it. What did we have to do? What did we learn from this? What can we actually take to make sure this doesn't happen again? And the whole lesson was diversifying. Let's not have a manager of the day. Let's keep it divided. Let's make sure that the teams interact and they know what's going on, but let's never make someone that irreplaceable where it's just 6 months of training down the tube. Let's never again have one supplier. Even if that supplier is doing great, we should always be trying to get new suppliers. And we created a goal to get over 100 suppliers over the next year and a half, and we did that. And so we went all in. Connor and I were working nonstop, contacting suppliers, getting people retrained for new products, listing, doing most of the work ourselves. And within 6 months, not only was the business bigger, but it was more diversified. It was stronger. And it was honestly incredible how quick we turned the switch. And I'm so happy I learned that lesson as a young entrepreneur and not years down the line.
Yeah, man, that's grit and just elbow grease, right?
Yeah, I mean, and at that point, I mean, you have to deal with failure at a young age. I have to look my friends in the eye, and they're like, "What happened to your business?" Talking about, "Hey, mom and dad, remember that business I was so passionate about? I'm starting over," you know?
Right. Well, so like, kind of carry us forward today to what you're doing today, and the turbulence that you face today. How do you keep it all in check? Not just, even in your personal life, how do you keep all this stuff in check? I know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. The hours can be pretty intense.
Yeah, I have an incredible girlfriend. I don't think she knew what she got into when I told her I was an entrepreneur. You kind of get that look like, okay, what does that really mean? And I mean, that means that if my phone rings, I have to pick up. I'm not like saying, hey, no, boss, I can't come in today. It's your business. It's your income stream. So, I mean, she's been incredibly supportive. I mean, going through busy season with me is not fun. I can tell you that. And I'm in the e-commerce world. Although with Free Up, it's been a little bit different. She was with me for my Amazon business for years, seeing me pulling all-nighters 8 times a year, all during the fourth quarter, and kind of going through that. And it gets a little bit crazy. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing really you can say. I mean, I've never been in a situation where people didn't support me, not financially. My parents were like, hey, you're on your own, make your own money. But in terms of the decisions that I make, I've always had the support behind them. As long as I wasn't doing something to get me to go to jail or something like that, they were always like, hey, like, do what you want to do. Try things out. Try new things. Figure out what you want. It's okay to make mistakes. Get back up. And that's always been what I've surrounded myself with.
So along those lines, trying different things, what kind of personal habits do you have that you feel really contribute to your continual growth and your success?
So when I first moved down to Florida, all right, so I went from college, which was in Quinnipiac in Connecticut, and I lived in Stamford a year after that, and I started to go crazy. I was working from home. It's kind of an older town. I was single. Everyone was kind of married and starting a family. It was outside of New York, but it's not like New York at all. It wasn't that much fun. My college friends, who I had partied with for years, and they're still great friends of mine, but they were accountants now. They had real jobs. They weren't there to hang out with me. It was just me in this building by myself all day, and I started to go crazy, and I really didn't have these habits. My habits were to just work all day as much as possible. And so I decided to move to Florida because my other business partner at the time was going to get his MBA there, and I hated living in Stamford. And Connor agreed and wanted something else, and we were always in the mentality like, hey, we can move back if we hate it. So we moved down here, and as soon as I got down here, I was like, okay, I'm an adult now. I'm nowhere near my parents. It's time to get into some routine. So I actually hired a personal trainer that I worked out with for 2 years, 5 days a week, the most intense exercises that you can imagine for an hour. And that really got me into that workout mentality to the point where that's how I get away from work. I mean, there are times that I'm out with friends or with my girlfriend, my phone's still on me. When I'm at the gym, like my phone's off, it's gone. I'm going as hard as possible. I'm taking all the stress that I have at work and taking it out on those weights. And to this day, I don't have a personal trainer. I did that for 2 years, but it's a consistent part of my day. At 4:45, my assistants know, hey, Nate's off. He's going to the gym. Don't bother him for an hour, hour and a half. And then I come back and go for the rest of my day. So I'm definitely not a morning person when I go to the gym, although I love the feeling afterwards, but I don't like actually doing it.
Right.
But at 4:45, that's my me time.
Okay. Well, that's pretty incredible that you have a regimen like that, and it's really good. So what do you think that you're working on right now in your life that you want to get to that next level?
I am so excited about FreeUp. So the thing about being an Amazon seller, which was awesome, I learned so much, is after a while, you're pushing products. So I did it for 8 years. I'm trying to get out of it now. I'm selling it to one of my business partners, and all my time is focused on FreeUp. But you do it for so long, and at the end of the day, you realize, okay, you're helping yourself, you're helping your supplier, you're helping your team. Now with FreeUp, I've built a marketplace of freelancers. I get to help thousands of clients all over the world. I've gotten to help them grow their businesses. I have hundreds of freelancers all over the world that I get to meet and interact with when I travel. I'm going to the Philippines in March. It'll be before this airs. But we rented out a venue and pretty much were like, hey, anyone that wants to come can be there. We have over 100 people that are going to be going. We get to actually influence these people's lives. They get to provide for their family. They get to do what they're passionate about, grow their freelance business. I get to speak at conferences and podcasts, and I'm going to California in a week to do some filming for a bunch of different people. So I get to actually help people hire better, improve their lives, improve their business, and it's so much more rewarding. And I think that's really kind of how I've changed from that young entrepreneur, which is like, okay, my parents are both teachers. I grew up in a town that everyone was a doctor, lawyer, dentist. So I always felt like I was below them, although I was never poor, but I never had everything I wanted as a kid. And then okay, you're an entrepreneur, you're making a lot of money. And then it's like, okay, money isn't everything. Now it's time to actually help and influence people along with growing your business. So that's what I'm really excited about. It's been awesome to just help so many people over the years and really continue doing it.
So I've asked this question before, but how do you balance all this? I mean, you've got your family, you've got a girlfriend, you've got a business. It sounds like you're trying to get out of. You're starting a new business. All the traveling that you do, you've got a ton going on, and we all only have 24 hours a day. How do you balance?
Yeah, I mean, I have an incredible group of assistants. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I preach to people to get those VAs, to get a really solid team. I mean, just like you want to have a solid team at home that supports you, and you want to have a solid team at work. In both my companies, we have incredible assistants, incredible people on our internal team that just make my life easier to the point where I can walk away for 3 hours and I know the business isn't going to explode. And so many entrepreneurs, they don't have that. They're awake at night knowing that 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 anything could happen and they could be on call at any second. I have an assistant that covers overnight, so I know it's in good hands. I mean, half of being an entrepreneur is that mental state, and being able to hire good people is the only way that you get to the real freedom of being an entrepreneur. There are people that have the financial freedom, but they don't actually have freedom. They're tied to their business. They're stuck there. They can't leave it. And the only way you get out of that is by hiring good people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a story you typically hear. Like, your girlfriend, when you told her you're an entrepreneur, two things went through my head. Great, I'm going to have to buy him food, right? That's one story of it. Or two, I'm never going to see this guy.
Exactly.
Those are like the two paradigms, I think, that are out there. So being able to strike that true freedom, that's the goal. I mean, Tim Ferriss talks about that, the 4-hour work week. And, that's where we're all headed, or where we want to go. So, you talk about VAs. For people that are listening to the show don't know what a VA is. Could you discuss that briefly?
Yeah, I mean, VA is a very general term. If you think of when you're hiring people the traditional way, people to come to your office, not only are you limited to the people in your town or the towns around you, but you're also competing with all the people for that same talent, all the businesses. With the remote world, which is booming right now, you can get access to talented people from all over the world. These are freelancers, they're graphic designers, they're bookkeepers, they can do virtual assistant or data entry work or customer emails. I mean, I have top marketing people that I pay $75 an hour that are incredible, and I don't even know how much I would have to pay to hire them locally. So you can get access to all this talent remotely, and there's no business that can't do it. I mean, we started off helping Amazon sellers get access to people to do listings and customer service, and that kind of expanded to e-commerce. Okay, if you have a Shopify store, we can help. We have developers that can help build it. If you sell on Walmart or eBay, we have specialists for you. But now it's gotten to the point where it's any business. We have mom and pop shops who will hire someone to build their website remotely. They don't need someone to come in. We have real estate agents and insurance agents that will have VAs to help them post listings and go through information. The possibilities are really endless, and I encourage you to check out freeup.com with 3 E's. Connor, my business partner, does a fantastic job breaking down different businesses and different industries and how you can utilize virtual assistants, because a lot of times the things that put you over the top as a business owner is when you think out of the box a little bit, and that's what you have to do when hiring a virtual assistant.
I had a virtual assistant 6-7 years ago, I believe, somewhere in that time frame. And she was from the Philippines, and I had hired her to do just a couple, things like, scheduling doctor appointments, dental appointments, any appointments. She scheduled those for me. Research projects, business ideas I had. Also, one of the things, and this sounds crazy, but I saved all my money right here. I needed new tires for my car. So I said, hey, can you call around? I lived in San Diego at the time. Like, can you call around, find out a place that, has, tires for this kind of car? And I kind of knew what I was going to pay. I thought I was going to pay about $1,500 for 4 tires. And she was like, hey, I just found a place. It took her like a day. Found a place, and for 24 hours, you can get in for $650 and get 5 tires. That way you get your 4 plus your spare. And I'm like, okay. I was prepared to spend $1,500. She just saved me almost $900, and I wasn't paying her a lot. I mean, she was specialized, but not like the marketing folks that you were talking about. So I basically paid. That saved me so much money. I kept her on for over a year. But I mean, it's pretty crazy what you can use a VA for, and these resources, and they truly can help you.
Yeah, I mean, I have VAs that do everything. They cover my Skype 24/7 because I get 1,000 Skype messages a day. They clear out my emails. They manage my social media. They write content for blogs. They do our Facebook ads. All the graphic design work and images. They work on our website, our software. I mean, you can do anything.
So, Nate, so you got people out there listening today, and they're just like, holy crap, there's so much that I want to do, and there's so much that, they're just getting a ton of value out of this. They need to kind of slow down, but, where would you tell them to start?
So step one is always identify what you need to take off your plate. So what I recommend doing is get away from your business, go to a lake somewhere, someplace you enjoy, which is old-fashioned pen and paper, and write out everything you do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. And then start a second list and write down everything you're not good at. What could your business do better? Are you not good at Facebook ads? Are you not good at graphic design? And these are your starting points. So on the first list, you're going to start with the easiest and start taking things off your plate. And even if it's getting an hour or two of your day back, that's where you want to start. With the second list, you're focusing on the things that will have the most ROI. Is it hey, I want to reformat my website, whatever it is. So these are your starting points. And step two is to figure out what your perfect VA looks like, because I promise you, if you don't know what that person looks like, we're not going to know what that looks like.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've been in management and leadership for 20 years, and you've got to know who you're looking for. Well,
exactly.
So Nate, just what's the best way to connect with you?
So I'm very easy to contact. My calendar is right at the top of freeup.com. You can book a free meeting with me. I'd love to talk to you about FreeUp, about your business, how everything we can offer. You can check out the FreeUp blog, and you can follow me on social media.
Okay, great. Well, is there anything that you're currently working on, a new project or anything like that? I know FreeUp is kind of the new and up and coming, but anything else?
No, right now FreeUp is what we're focused on. We've built a network of close to 1,000 freelancers that are pre-vetted for skill, attitude, communication. As a client, it's free to sign up, no monthly fee. You get fast access to them. On the back end, we have a no turnover guarantee. If the freelancer quits for any reason, we cover all replacement costs and get you a new worker right away. So that's really what I'm committed on for the foreseeable future.
Wow, that's a great guarantee there, Nate. Well, is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to bring up before we close out?
I just want to stress the importance of diversity. If you've taken anything from this episode, diversify every part of your business, every part of your life, whether it's your stock portfolio, your revenue streams, the people that you're hiring, everything, suppliers. Diversify as much as possible. It's the smartest business decision that you can make.
Well, thank you. And, thank you again for your time today, Nate, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Now, there's a lot in that podcast with Nathan. We talked about, really, it's all about mastering your time, figuring out what is important to you and focusing on the right things. If that's growing your audience, growing your podcast, whatever, and taking the items that aren't necessarily helping you get there and enabling you not to focus on growing your business, help delegate and get that stuff out to your team and build a true business. That's what Nathan was all about. And I think he said he started at the age of 16 making, $1,000 a month. That's amazing, especially where he's at now. So awesome podcast and awesome episode with Nathan.
Thanks for listening to the UpRev Ninja podcast with your host, Tom Hudson. Navigate to our website at uprev.ninja today, where you will find additional resources to help you discover the best version of you. While you're there, join our newsletter and join the discussion on your favorite social media platforms. We've got some awesome guests lined up to share with us how they are becoming the best versions of themselves. Again, thank you for listening. Now it's time to go out and uprev your life.